Welcome to the Self Revolution podcast. This is your weekly reminder to wake up to who the fuck you really are. I'm your host, Breanna Rae Blaney, and it is truly my honor to guide you on this journey of self-revolution and evolution. Join me as one by one, we collectively wake up to create a more harmonious, enlightened, and fulfilled world. Welcome back to the Self Revolution podcast. I am so grateful that you are here with me today. Talk about a tool for self-revolution. It's meditation. Meditation has completely transformed my life, my relationship with myself, who I think that I am, and ultimately how I make decisions. And I'm so excited to dive into the details around meditation with you today. When I'm talking about meditation, I'm not just talking about guided meditation through apps like Headspace or Calm, but really about meditation in the fullest essence of this word. Traditional meditation, more silent meditation, meditation that allows you to explore the full depths of yourself as a human being. Contrary to popular belief, meditation is not just a stress management tool or a mindfulness practice, but it is this thing that allows you to tap into your full potential in life. Often we're only interacting with a little sliver of ourself. And meditation is this practice that allows you to self-realize, to self-actualize, and to feel and innately experience these depths of who you really are. Meditation is not a chore or a task, although it can certainly be challenging at times, and I've absolutely experienced that in my own journey. But it really can be this incredibly blissful, even orgasmic experience. If you had to ask me what I would do if I could only do one thing for the rest of my life, it would be meditation. It's become that pleasurable and that critical to my life. And I hope that this will give you a little bit of a taste of the scope of meditation and how it can impact you just like it's impacted me in my own life. I've been studying and practicing meditation for the past decade. And while I've taken many trainings and been on a variety of retreats, the thing that has really been so critical to my experience has been studying ancient texts and actually meditating myself. The lineage that I study is called Vedic philosophy. And core to the essence of Vedic philosophy is the sense that you are your own inner guide. You are your best teacher. Your inner self is the teacher of all teachers. And this experience is so critical to you actually understanding and embodying what this is in your own life. So I invite you to not take anything I say today as gospel, but to rather actually experience and choose to explore this in your own life, in your own path. I know that there's often so much confusion around meditation. Truly, it has been very challenging for me to find places that really talk about the full scope of meditation. So today, I'm really excited to dive into and hopefully expand your perspective on what meditation really can do for you by talking about what it is, the roots of it, my own journey with meditation, some of the common misconceptions and questions I've received around meditation, and then ultimately how you can begin to or continue to expand your own practice to use meditation as a tool and ultimately transform your own consciousness. So when I say the word meditation, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I think for many people, it is this visual of someone sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed in a silent experience, or maybe it is using a guided app like Calm or Headspace, or potentially your initial reaction to the word meditation is, that's not for me, or my mind could never do that. My mind is too busy, too crazy, and there's no way that I could sit in silence and stillness like that. And while I think all of those make a lot of sense, that's the meditation that often we're exposed to, I'm really excited to show and demonstrate how meditation really is so much more than those things. It is really this tool that allows you to feel into and embody your full potential in life, your innate potential as a human being. So hopefully I have you intrigued, interested, maybe a little bit confused. So let's back up a step and talk about what meditation really is. Meditation is a practice and a tool, but it is also a state of being. There are many lineages of meditation, and there's no one right or wrong path. Some of these lineages include Vedic philosophy, which is the one I studied, as I mentioned. But there's also Zen meditation, Tibetan meditation. There's so many of these ancient lineages. And from those, there stem many more paths. And again, there's no right or wrong. However, it's important that you really discern which of these resonate with you in your own life. And from there, you can continue to customize it to actually work for you. So the where I learned meditation is really from the Vedic tradition. And the Vedic tradition comes from the books of the Vedas, which are some of the oldest spiritual texts in the world. They're over 5,000 years old, and they really center around these universal truths of how we can come into right harmony with the world around us. The Vedas are the root of yoga and Ayurveda, and from them have sprouted many other lineages as well. So more specifically, when I first learned meditation, it was from the path of yoga called Raja Yoga, which is the royal path. And you might be a little bit confused or questioning how these two things of yoga and meditation are related. And if you're in that camp, no worries. I think in the West, those two things have often become separated from one another. Yet from a traditional standpoint, they are incredibly integrated, and we're going to dive into more of that in just a moment. Yoga is a science of self-realization. The word yoga comes from the root word yuj, which means to yoke, to merge, to come into union with your true self. So the journey of yoga is this path of realizing who you really are and ultimately coming into oneness, to union with this greater source of consciousness. So going back to Raja Yoga, one of the primary texts in this royal path is something called the Yoga Sutras. And this text was written over 2,000 years ago by Patanjali. And in this text, he outlines the 8 limbs of yoga that ultimately lead to this journey of self-realization. So often when people think about yoga, I know I was in this camp too at one point in my life, you think about this physical practice, almost this workout where people are going through these various postures and poses. Yet this is just one small limb and one small sliver of what yoga truly is. So in Patanjali's path, this 8-limb path, yoga asana, this physical practice, is only the 3rd limb. I'm going to dive into each of these limbs just at a high level because I think it gives some context for what meditation truly is. So the first 2 limbs of this 8-limb path are the yamas and the niyamas. And these are observances, essentially how to come into right harmony with the world around you and also right harmony with yourself. The 3rd limb is physical practice, this physical asana, as I mentioned earlier. The 4th is pranayama, also known as breath control, and this is where the modern practice of breath work actually comes from. Most of it's rooted in this ancient tradition of yoga. And then the last 4 limbs of this 8-limb path are really this journey of meditation, these different steps of meditation, and often what we think of meditation in the West, typically more guided visualizations, these are just comprised in pieces of these 8 limbs of the Yoga Sutras. So let's break each of these down in greater detail. The 5th limb is called Pratyahara, which means sense withdrawal. So once you have come into right harmony with the world around you, you have done some physical asana practice to prepare your body to meditate. You're working on your breath and breathing to really calm your body and mind or activate it, depending on what you need right then and there. Then you are withdrawing your senses from the external world to come into more of your internal world. And that's the practice of Pratyahara. The sixth limb is then Dharana, which is this practice of drawing your attention to concentrate it on one point. And typically in the West, the guided meditations that are on apps or even in a yoga class, if a teacher asks you to follow your breath, these are practices that are helping you concentrate your mind to bring your mind to one focal point. So that's the practice of Dharana. Then the seventh limb is Dhyana, and this is the true state of meditation from the Vedic perspective. And this state of meditation is one that comes naturally almost from when you are in concentration. So if you're really focusing on your breath and you're tracing your breath, at some point, your mind will almost surpass that and come into this state of absorption or oneness with more of your flow of the innate consciousness that's in your mind. And that is the state of true meditation. The eighth limb, the last limb of this 8-limb path, is Samadhi. And this is the state of complete absorption. And again, this is a natural state that kind of comes from true meditation. So once you're in that state of true meditation, of dhyana, you begin to come into this state of samadhi where you are emerged or one with this flow of consciousness that is your true nature. So when you think about this journey of the 8 limbs, it really is this incredible, very linear path that helps you progress down this path of being able to be ready, kind of preparing your body to be ready to be in this oneness with your full potential and the greater potential of kind of this entire cosmic universe that surrounds us. So what exactly do I mean when you are able to actually drop into your full potential as a human being? It means that when you are dropping into this deep state of meditation within yourself, you are ultimately tapping into this greater force of consciousness that is inside of you, and that is you. And so when you are reaching these levels of meditation, you're no longer playing in this state of your limited self or limiting beliefs, as we often hear, or the limited or conditioned mind. You're tapping into this expanded awareness that is ultimately the force that is behind everything in creation. And when you're able to tap into that place, you're able to expand your consciousness and your awareness to open up new possibilities in your life and ultimately understand from a deeper level how you innately function. You begin to transcend your limited self and you open up and ultimately merge with the greater consciousness that is here at play. So personally, I first learned yoga through this very linear path, and it's been very supportive for me as I have practiced and come through those various states. And so in many ways, I think that the linear path can be really supportive for you to think of the structure of the steps that you can progress down to ultimately reach this state of samadhi. Yet I now prescribe to a much more, I'd say, circular or tantric view where you don't necessarily have to take these in exactly this linear path, more of this masculine structure, but you can kind of start in a variety of different places to reach the same point. And again, there's many, many different ways to reach that state of samadhi. This is just one path, the first path that I went down that was very supportive and hopefully provides some insight in terms of how you can start to train your mind to bring yourself to that state. So in life, many of us are searching for the sense of freedom, the sense of liberation. And that is actually one of the 4 aims of life. If you've listened to that episode of the podcast, if you're familiar with that from Vedic philosophy of the Purusharthas, this goal, this ultimate goal is moksha, is liberation of this limited self and this merging of the more cosmic self. And that's exactly what is happening when you are reaching this state of samadhi. You are starting to come into contact with the true sense of liberation. And you can think about this for an analogy, kind of like the ocean. The ocean, you've got all of these crashing waves, all of these things that are happening in your external environment, and you're able to maintain this ultimate sense of freedom and peace and calm that is present at the deeper layers of the ocean. And so that is ultimately the state that I want you to be able to get to, that I am still on a journey to stay in that present state. But ultimately, meditation is the practice that allows you to begin to really experience and feel and embody that true word and true sense of the word of liberation, of freedom, of moksha. I know when I first became exposed to this type of meditation, one of the things that was so intriguing to me about it was this concept that it was going to allow me to embody my full potential, that it was going to help clear my mind, that I was going to be able to do things that maybe I didn't think I could do before. And that's the state I want you to be able to reach as well. So meditation is really this practice that allows you to expand your awareness. Often we are not fully aware of how our mind may be limiting our perception of the world around us. You can kind of think of this like you're wearing sunglasses that are dirty. There's this fog and you can't quite see clearly what is happening in your life. The practice of meditation allows that murkiness, it's called maya or illusion in Sanskrit, to become clean. It starts to wipe off your sunglasses so that you can see more clearly. It removes ignorance or avidya and allows your true essence, your true perspective, that clarity to emerge. So your mind has many parts to it, and we're not going to get into all of the details of the aspects of your mind, but at a high level, there are two parts of your mind. You have your outer mind and your inner mind. And your outer mind, it's called manas in Sanskrit. The outer mind is the part of your mind that you're most likely familiar with, which is the part of your mind that is thinking. It's your thinking mind. It's your analytical mind. It's your mind that is taking all of these sensory things in your external world, and it is absorbing them and trying to figure out, how to process them to create your reality. This is the part of your mind that helps you solve a math problem, or if you're caught in overthinking or overanalyzing, this is the part of your mind that's really at play. The other aspect of your mind is your inner mind. And this is the part of your mind that is associated with your true intelligence. From a Vedic perspective, this aspect of your mind is really located in your heart. And this is the seat of your intuition, of your buddhi, of your ability to really discern what is actually supportive for you in your life and what's not. In the modern world today, we are so focused on intellect, our ability to learn and absorb information. We spend pretty much our entire lives through school, careers, and beyond absorbing all of this information, overanalyzing, overthinking, and really being driven by this external world, our outer mind. And it's very rare that we actually take the time to hone and to be with our inner minds. That state that is the sense, and maybe you've experienced it in your own life, where you really know something to be true, or you take a pause and you really have this sense or this gut feeling. All of that is really associated with more of your inner mind. And while you need both, you need intellect and you need intelligence. A ton of intellect without intelligence isn't all that helpful. So the practice of meditation is one that's helping you drop out of your outer mind, drop out of your head and into your heart. It's essentially merging your outer mind into your inner mind so that you're starting to operate from this place of your innate intelligence. Ultimately, the source of innate intelligence is connected to the cosmic source of intelligence. If you think about nature and the harmony and the seasons and the rhythm, there is this cosmic force at play. There is this harmony. And that intelligence is also within you. And so when you're meditating, you're really dropping into that ultimate source of intelligence. A modern take on outer and inner mind would be EQ and IQ. And while I would say that this only scratches the surface of really these ancient teachings, it can help you think about what I mean when I'm talking about outer mind to the IQ and the intellect, and then the inner mind of this EQ and more of this emotional intelligence. So, for instance, in your day to day, I know I've been in a number of sales meetings or just meetings in general. So often we are leading with the intellect, leading with data, charts, figures, numbers, when what truly changes someone's heart and someone's mind is the EQ, is being able to drop into your own inner mind, connect with their own inner mind, and to create true change from that place. So the experience and this journey of meditation allows you to be in that state more frequently, which I have found in my own journey has helped me in every facet of my life, but particularly in work. You're able to really align and to connect with people in a much deeper sense, and to be able to harmonize and ultimately see what's actually going to be supportive from them for tapping in to that state of greater intelligence. Everyone's journey with meditation will be unique, and that is a beautiful thing. When I first experienced meditation, or I guess what I thought was meditation at the time, was in a yoga class. I was in college. I was at Franklin Street Yoga, and I remember laying in Shavasana at the end of yoga class, and I felt this deep sense of connection with this force that was greater than myself. And I think it was the first time that I was really in this state of flow with consciousness. And from that state, I just kind of thought it was something that I could tap into when I went to a yoga class. And so I would go back to yoga to feel that sense of connection with myself. But it wasn't something that I was really pursuing to a greater degree, and I didn't have the context of how it could really help me in my life as a whole. So I went off and got a corporate job. I was up in Boston, and really soon after my first corporate job is when I took my first yoga teacher training, and I was exposed to the Yoga Sutras. And I began reading the Yoga Sutras that outlined the 8-limb path, which we talked about previously. And my mind really began to open to the full scope of what meditation truly was and how it could actually transform my life. So I was intrigued. I was like, if the ancient sages were really sharing how transformative this practice could be, could I reach this state? So I began trying. I began meditating every day. I began following this 8-limb path, doing the practices in each of these steps. And I began to start to experience a variety of changes and insights in my life. The first thing that I really learned was this concept of your perception and reality, in the sense that I didn't realize how much my mind was driving how I viewed the world, how everything from my relationships to my job to how I talked to my parents, like everything was driven by the lens upon which I was looking at the world. And how each of us, you as a human being, me as mine, we all have our unique lens. And without that awareness of your own lens, your own perception of the world, it can be really challenging to connect with others. And it can also be very limiting in terms of not realizing some of the setbacks or some of these aspects of your mind that may actually be challenging your ability to progress in your life. As I began to continue to experience this, I would have a variety of these little insights, these things that I was beginning to pick up around the conditioning of my mind that I hadn't realized before. Yet it wasn't always a pleasurable experience. It was quite challenging. I had to commit to a consistent practice daily. And many of those mornings, I was sitting there in the chaos of my mind. My mind was going wild. I was asking myself, am I doing this right? what is happening. And I had to choose to continue to be present and to be there and to almost befriend my mind. And it took months and months and months for me to experience something different. So I would have these little glimmers or insights here or there, but it really was probably 6+ months until my mind began to really actually quiet down, you could say. Or I'd say more accurately, I was able to hone my mind to refocus my attention on more of its innate state. So it is a practice, and it is something that you have to commit to on a consistent basis. But I had read the teachings and I had seen how beneficial it was and described in these texts. And that's really what kept me going through the days where it was really, really challenging. I also began to realize the conditioning of my mind. And this kind of goes back to that concept of perception versus reality. But I began to realize how these beliefs were so ingrained. For example, I had chosen to study finance, or I'd chosen to go on to college because that was the thing to do, or my parents had thought that that was a good path for me. And I began to realize how so many of the decisions in my life were being driven by the conditioned mind. They were being driven by society's perception of me or my past karmic patterns, these samskaras, you could call them. And by meditating, those attachments to other people's perceptions of me, to these beliefs in my mind, to maybe some of these stories I was telling myself that I had to stay in this job or I had to work in the corporate world, all of those things began to lessen, and I was able to start to see things more clearly. I was able to start to begin to operate from more of the unconditioned mind. During this year, when I was consistently meditating, I was in this state of more true meditation. My life really began to transform. I was radiating this sense of joy. I had my best friends reflecting back to me that they had never seen me happier. I was walking into work with a new energy. I was single for the first time in a long time, and I was at complete peace with myself. And it really was this incredibly transformational experience, this experience of an enlightened experience where I was completely interacting with the world around me in a new way. And I was tapped into this limitless sense of joy and peace and awe. And then life happened. I started to ebb and flow in my meditation practice. Work got busy. I met a new partner. I moved across country, and I was really wrapped up in my job. I was working at private equity at the time. I started working really long hours, and I really lost touch with my daily practice. And while I would say I was still at a higher state of consciousness than maybe I began with, I had definitely come back into some of the patterns and habits that weren't necessarily serving me and that I had already kind of become aware of. And that's natural. I mean, we're human. We move forward, we make progress, and then sometimes we do take steps back. But it was really apparent to me. There were a number of experiences where I was engaging with friends or family members in ways that I didn't feel so supportive. I had also started a company called Raywear, and it was a clothing company that made custom clothing for women. And I had been pouring so much energy into this company, and it was really apparent how when I didn't have this daily practice, I started making decisions and acting from kind of an irrational place. I was really overly stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was so in my outer mind that I had lost touch with that innate intelligence that I had cultivated. And so I was making decisions that weren't so supportive for me. So I really reached a breaking point during this experience when I was starting this company. I was working full time, and I had this moment of reckoning where I realized that the way that I was operating was really not serving me. I had pushed myself to this state of complete overwhelm. And I knew that the way to get back on track was to dive in back to my meditation practice and to get to the root cause of what was actually happening in my life that wasn't serving me. And so I dove back into my meditation practice. And again, it wasn't easy. I kind of thought that maybe if I dove back in within a month or two, I would reach the state that I had been at previously. But it honestly took much longer than that. It was probably another 6 to 8 months before I was in the depths of meditation like I was before. Yet it was well worth it. I began to experience everything that I had experienced before to almost a greater degree. And I had gained more clarity on my path and my direction and my Dharma, all more insights that I will share at another time. But it really was this moment where I vowed that I would never lose my deep meditation practice again, because I saw the impact of what happens when you lose touch with your innate self. And I saw how much my potential was honestly diminished when I wasn't connected to that place. And so that is why it's so important to me to maintain this deep connection and maintain my meditation practice, and not just maintain, but even deepen it, as I know that it is what allows me to ultimately do and create and feel this limitless sense of joy and fulfillment in my life. I'm often asked how I do all of the things that I do in my life. And this is 100% my answer. I often reference meditation as the reason and the state and the tool and the practice that really does allow me to create everything that I do in my life. So now for me, my practice looks like a daily practice. Generally, it is 20 to 30 minutes long, but sometimes days are busy, but I don't miss a day. I don't remember the last day I haven't really meditated. So occasionally, maybe it's 5 minutes, but I really shoot for 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes it goes up to 40 or an hour. And I try and take retreats or breaks where I can really drop into longer states of meditation. I find that that's really what allows you to reach even deeper and deeper states. But meditation is this practice that you can use to create so many different things in your life. So yes, it helps cultivate and taps you into this deeper potential, but I also use meditation as a tool to utilize things in other aspects of my life. So to make decisions, meditate. I often use meditation in my meditation practice to make big decisions. And I've done that numerous times, and it helps, again, tap you into that inner wisdom, your innate knowing. Also, creativity. When I have to create a presentation for work, or I have to think about how to solve a challenging problem, you can actually do that through meditation. Through more of an active meditative state, you can sit with that one-pointed awareness of what you're looking to create from and gain insight. And that is a tool I use almost on a daily basis, whether it be in the corporate professional world or in something like creating this podcast. I really use meditation as a way, a different type of work style, which has been really supportive and beneficial for me in my own life. So meditation is a journey. It's certainly been a journey for me. I'm sure it will be a journey for you, but hopefully that gives you some context, maybe some points that you can relate to in your own journey, your own experience with meditation. And so I'll wrap us up today by talking about some of the common questions or misperceptions too that I often receive around meditation. And the first one I'll dive into is this question of, how do you know when you're meditating? I'll preface this by saying there are a number of different types of meditation, and it depends on how you're actually defining meditation. But from my own experience, from the Vedic view that I shared, you know when you're meditating when you are detaching from that outer mind and you're really dropping into more of your inner mind. It feels like you are in a flow with something that is greater than yourself. You're not thinking from your thinking mind. You're starting to really feel this sense of connection and insight with the source of true consciousness. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what that feels like. And I invite you to really almost practice a self-inquiry practice around this when you are asking kind of where are your thoughts coming from? Is it from, or what are you experiencing? Are you experiencing your outer mind or more of your inner mind? And through that process of self-inquiry, I think again, you can start to experience what that feels like in your own body. Question number 2, are my thoughts supposed to be gone? I'd say no, but your thoughts will naturally subside. So if you are really experiencing a lot of your outer mind, if that is the state of more of your mind right now, then you're probably experiencing a lot of thoughts. When you start to drop into a state of meditation and into your inner mind, the attachment to those thoughts start to subside. The innate state of your mind is consciousness. It's this vast space. There's actually a lot of space and calmness, kind of like that ocean analogy again, in your mind. And so you're beginning to train your mind to stay in that state versus being driven and your awareness focused on all of these little thoughts that are constantly pinging you. Yet these thoughts are still present. So meditation is less of an experience of pushing away these thoughts versus dropping into a deeper state of consciousness where the thoughts naturally subside. So when I'm meditating, I don't feel all of the chaos of my mind because I'm almost in a deeper state of consciousness. So hopefully that is a helpful way to think about it from your own perspective. Question number 3, what am I supposed to be doing while I'm meditating? Again, there's a variety of different techniques, but meditation is much less about doing and much more about being. It's about dropping in and allowing yourself to be with whatever is present. And I talked a little bit about how I create from a state of meditation. That is a type of meditation where you can be in a more of an active state. So you're actually bringing something into your awareness and you're inquiring about that from a deeper connection with that flow of consciousness. But you can also practice more passive or open meditation where you're placing yourself in a completely receiving or receptive position where you're not trying to focus or inquire on one thought, but you're simply bringing yourself to that place of flow, of samadhi, and then simply being open and passive for whatever comes through to come through. Question number 4, do I have to believe in God to meditate, or is meditation associated with a certain religion? The beautiful thing about the tradition that I practice and study, Vedic philosophy, is that it is universal. And while different parts of the Vedas do have connections to Hinduism primarily, but also Buddhism from there, you do not have to believe in those religions to practice meditation or practice meditation from a Vedic view. Actually, the beauty of meditation is that you can customize it to work for you. So this practice of honing your mind and the steps that I outlined today can be used with any type of religion if that is something that you prescribe to, or it can be agnostic. If you tend to connect to the word source or consciousness, you can use that when you're meditating. Or if you prescribe to a religion like Christianity or want to use the word God, that works for you as well. So meditation can really be customized to work for you. And I take that even a step further to say, if none of that resonates with you, you can still use meditation as a practice to build this remote control for your mind. So even if none of those words really land, you are using meditation as a tool to hone your awareness and be able to choose where you want your mind to go. If you ask your body to walk or to run, you can generally have very immediate control of your body walking or running. Yet with your mind, it's often a lot harder. Often we don't have that ability to just change the channel if you're caught in that thought pattern or potential loop. And meditation is a practice that allows you to do that. So if you feel like you're getting caught in a spiral or a loop, you can easily change the channel and drop from your outer mind to your inner mind and cut past that loop or limiting thought. I'm sure there are many more questions. I know when I started meditation, and even still today, I often have a variety of questions for my teachers, also for myself. I ask a lot of these questions in a meditative state and see what answers kind of come to me in my own experience as well. But please feel free, drop any additional questions you have in the comments, DM me one-on-one on Instagram. I would love to talk to you more about your own experience meditating. And if you are interested, intrigued in the type of meditation I'm talking about, using it in the way that I've explained using it in my own life, I'm hoping to have a course around meditation coming out sometime next year. And then I also highly, highly recommend the Yoga Sutras. It's a dense read, that's for sure, but it has been around for thousands of years, and it really does outline a very systematic approach to meditation that I really do think can be very well digested in terms of more structure to lead you to this ultimate source. So thank you so much for being here with me today. It is such a joy and honor and a privilege to have this dialogue and conversation with you. The light in me honors and sees the light in you. Have a good night. Thank you.